Mikhail Massa. Subscribe and share the video for more content like this. Our email were.globen.es@gmail.com. Since these third world nations, countries of Africa, are seen and taken to be simply reservoirs of Earth's primary materials, they have organized these nations in a such way that they should respond to their mission and vision in the world, so that they can continue to be consumers or exploiters of the primary materials of those nations. Other nations are tolerated like those found in Latin America and Asia to give a sense of equilibrium, while Africa plays the role of reservoirs of Earth's primary materials. Inside the nations of Africa that play the role of reservoirs of primary materials, they have organized it, with the help of puppet leaders/intellectuals, to serve their selfish goal. But in the engine countries of Europe and North America, they structure its political space in such a way that it remains stable, so that at all times it continues to play the role to accomplish their vision of mercantilism, an economic policy that is designed to maximize the exports and minimize the imports foreign economy. In their stable nations, they create states, states meaning an administrative and political entity that is managed by top authorities. And these authorities will define the system of management of these states in a way that they call democracy, so that they can make the people participate in the alimentation of the structure of the state, and these people will be headed by representatives to control the good functioning of those states. Around these states they will organize powers. These powers will make legislative laws and also run those states to cater for people's needs. Legislative bodies will be made to monitor how laws will be controlled and applied in their spaces to finally create a judiciary power. All the nations of the Western world have a similar structure of organization. Though they are variants, where others have kings, others presidents or prime ministers, and also others have various ways they organize their justice system, but in brief, the common goal or end goal is how the state can be an instrument of the vision of accumulation of riches of nations. This is where certain families or a certain group of individuals will know how to pilot the economy of the world, the economy of the entire planet around an enterprise based on capital, to govern the entire world. And all the people that will work in the workplaces they provide, they will give them perhaps good salaries in the Western world to keep them in control and motivated to continue to acquire riches needs for them. But in poor countries, the organization of the state will be made similar to what they have made in the metropolitan nations. But the goal and finality is that these nations of Africa, their organization and alimentation will at all times be run/controlled by the deciding nations or the Western world. A few sellout African leaders and African intellectuals have understood the game so well that all the time they visit these nations of Europe, America, hoping these nations can decide how they will be chosen, so they can be the puppet to push ahead the agenda of the West. Mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and friends, see where Africans since the 1960s, with all the conferences held in the continent and abroad by African political classes or African intellectuals across the continent, have placed our continent in a situation of how we are going to continue being the supplier of primary materials, so that West can be able to accumulate riches and maintain the entire African population in the state of extraordinary poverty. Mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, and friends, voila! The paradigm of the Western world that has dominated the world for over 5 centuries. A paradigm that we all have entered into and is the source of all our political crisis and social crisis that we are in today. Sadly, we are all looking for how to play a role in this paradigm. Because all our education systems, which by the way were brought to us by the West, serve as a tool for reforming, designing, and brainwashing our mental, spiritual, religious selves so as to respond to the need of the market, a need that returns to the vision of how a person can enrich himself. Mothers, fathers, and friends, you have seen the Western world paradigm that dominated the world and continues to dominate the world. But we, in Africa, before the Western world brought that paradigm, vision of accumulation of riches, Africans had their own way of seeing the world. How did Africa see the world? In African cosmology, a person and the sense of life of a human being was not to have, it was not the accumulation of resources and not to run to other people's territories to exploit or conquer them and manipulate the market to empty them of their resources. No. Africa did not have this concept of life. As Africa, that was not our vision of the world. Mikhail Massa video, like and subscribe.